second, and we'll be on the way. So, once again, thank you for attending NLPA's retention webinar and mastering purchasing fundamentals. This is one of a four-part series which we do every quarter. And for today's webinar, I'm going to do an overview on the purchasing process or the tactical purchasing process. And again, Deborah, you can see my screen clearly, correctly?
Correct.
Awesome. So today I'm going to do an overview, and I would like to, again, do an overview of the procurement and purchasing process, and we're going to do an overview on how we could improve the tactical purchasing process. I'm going to introduce you to a tool, an awesome tool called SitePark. My name is David Millington, and I'm the Director of Education at NLPA, and I'm replacing our child, Charles Dominic, in this capacity. And I know those are huge shoes to fill, but I hope that as you get to know me, I would love to make your experience and your learning experience an awesome one, very interactive.
Okay.
So with that said, I would always recommend to everyone who is in procurement to make sure that they understand clearly the mission and the purpose of their function and their organizational mandate, and for procurement and purchasing as a whole. I always say that there's nothing like a person who functions in the world and does not have a clear purpose or sense of direction. With that said, purchasing and procurement are two distinct things. Purchasing is a subset of the procurement function, which is a much bigger set of mandates and skills and responsibilities. The purchasing function is from the part of the process that deals with from the issue of purchase orders to the receipt of the services and the goods to the payment of those accrued invoices. Whereas the procurement function, it's a much broader scope, and it deals with understanding the customer needs and requirements, translating those needs and requirements into the selection of capable, high quality, effective suppliers, to the receipt and payment of those vital inputs and raw materials, and to the payment of those accrued invoices. And one of the key metrics and indicators of success of a purchasing department and a purchasing professional is the total cost of ownership. So any inefficiencies, delays, stockouts would clearly impact the total cost of ownership metric and the performance of a particular procurement department. And it's very important that we understand the mandate as a whole, which is to manage spend, to support of operations, and to protect the organization from risk. So risk assessment is a very, very critical part of the purchasing and the procurement function.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. So to make a long story short, the mandate of a purchasing department is to manage spend, to support operations. And what I mean by support operations, to make sure that the critical inputs to the conversion processes or the manufacturing processes are received, delivered on time, at the right quantities, at the right place. So this is how the procurement function or the purchasing function supports operations. Okay, and then the third part of the mandate, so these are the critical three, the big three parts of the mandate, is to protect the organization from risk. And there are many ways that could be done. And it goes back to selecting the right, competent, and capable suppliers. If that's done, then the risk burden to the organization will be dramatically reduced. And to make sure that that process is backed up by a contractual mechanism, a very robust contractual mechanism, which also is another form of protecting the organization from risk. So an overview of the tactical purchasing process is determining a need, communicating that need throughout the value stream. And what I mean by the value stream, I mean the entire end-to-end process from triggering the need upstream to the suppliers, receiving the materials, paying for the materials, sending the materials to the production process. The logistics process should also be aware that there are going to be materials coming in, which will be converted into goods and services to the outbound process to the customer. So they should also be aware of any interaction in the supply chain or the value stream. Then communicating the need, reviewing the need, finding potential suppliers, conducting bidding and or negotiation processes, selecting a supplier, formalizing the commitment, and follow-up. And of course, closing out the transaction. So all of these are the steps in the tactical purchasing process. So, determining a need. The question would arise, well, what do we mean by determining the need? Step one in the tactical purchasing process. Well, organizations exist to create value for their end users, for their customers, their clients. And in order to do that, there must be some sort of conversion process where raw materials, in this case, which the purchasing function or the procurement function is mandated to position those raw materials, to bring them into the organization so they could be converted into value-added, useful products and services that will be sent to the customer. So ideally, every organization does have a need to receive critical inputs to create value. Also, to enable the workers in an organization to execute their functions. So, for example, accounting department would need software. They would need tables and chairs for their offices. They would need calculators. They would need pens, and all of these are critical inputs that will enable, in this case, an accounting function or accounting department to execute their job functions. Also, a need would arise where an organization does not have the internal expertise in-house, so there would be a need to procure services from outside. And another one would be where certain tasks cannot be done in a cost-effective manner, and it's better to get an organization that's outside of the walls of your organization to provide those goods and services. And step two would be communicating that need, right? As I mentioned, throughout the value stream, procurement functions that offer or that have a high degree of interaction and collaboration with upstream. When I say upstream, I mean the supplier processes, and then downstream the production and the logistics processes, where there's a higher degree of collaboration. There's a lower total cost of ownership, and there are better synergies and enhance customer experiences. So to be able to communicate that need up and downstream in real time is very, very important. There are different mechanisms in which needs particular need of an organization to get the critical inputs or raw materials could be executed. One would be electronic requisitions. Two would be a bill of materials, which is essentially down to the unit level. For example, if an organization is a bakery and they look at the bill of materials to manufacture one muffin and require X amount of pounds of butter, X amount of pounds of sugar, X amount of pounds of eggs to make one muffin, and the production schedule requires that 10,000 muffins are made, it would roll that up to 10,000 and it would execute a number that would say we need a total amount of eggs. The eggs requirement, the butter requirement is a certain amount, and then those would be generated upstream to the suppliers who would trigger their processes to make the delivery. And then automatic requisitions that have very little human interaction, and we see now with the rise of blockchain and artificial intelligence, we would see where a lot of these functions would be done automatically with very little human interaction. Companies that have lean manufacturing processes have what they use, Kanbans or signals that would be very, very, very easy to visualize when replenishments need to happen. So there are different types of Kanbans. On floor Kanbans, there are also e-Kanbans that could be set up into the IT interface that will trigger the needs requirements and when stock levels need to be replenished. Also, step 3 would be reviewing the need, and different organizations have different processes to do that. It could be a first come, first serve. The needs could be reviewed or arranged by date required, or it could be, God forbid, rush and emergency orders first. And we always have to guard against rush and emergency orders because those tend to constrain and to elevate the total cost of ownership and reduces the bottom line, the profit margins, and it's not a good thing. Or longest lead time first is another method. And step 4 would be finding potential suppliers. There are many ways that this could be done. Could be done using the internet, business B2B directories, chambers of commerce, industrial and professional trade associations, or peers. Building that network is very, very important in the procurement world to rely and to have that interaction with our peers. Many organizations have an internal classification for their suppliers. Some call them approved suppliers or preferred suppliers. And there's a single source situation or a sole source supplier. But it's very good it's a good best practice to have some sort of classification structure for your supplier base. Step 5 is conducting the bidding or negotiation processes, and there are times where we just have to just buy the product or service. We should always make time to negotiate the terms with one or more suppliers. I always believe in everything can be negotiated, and always negotiate. It's very, very, very important. And we could also conduct a competitive bidding process. On the screen, you could see a table, right,
Yes.
that has the critical factors on the extreme left side of the page and when to bid and when to negotiate. These are all in the toolkits from the classroom. And we're getting a little bit pressed for time. And because we started a bit late, but that's okay. So there are 3 tips for preparing for a successful bidding process. and one would be to ensure uniformity. Make sure that the format that you send to each supplier, it's the same format, and make it mandatory. Put a note in it that you need them to fill out your RFPs and your RFQs in that exact same format, and that you're not going to accept any bids that are not filled out exactly how you need them. And that's very important in terms of time and efficiency. You don't want to be taking if you have 5 bids out and all of them look differently, it's going to make your life miserable. And to be fair and ethical, of course, and to allow a good response time. Don't if you rush them, you're going to lose leverage. They're going to protect themselves because they're not going to allow themselves to leave money on the table, because if you rush, they might just give you a high price. So the more time, a sensible time frame that you give them, it's to your advantage. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, because we sort of pressed for time, I'm going to go into an awesome tool called SIPOC. Okay? And what SIPOC stands for, it stands for Supplier, Input, Process, Output, Customer. Okay? And what I recommend you do is to take the 9-step process, right? Map them out. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, etc. Then under where you see inputs, you make a column for inputs, and you classify and you document all of the tools that are used, the systems that are used. Is it Excel? Is it an MRP system? Do you use whatever you use to execute each one of those process steps? All of the tools or the inputs. Is it an email? Whatever you use, analyze and document those inputs. Then you write who's responsible for executing each one of those steps, and when in the process, right, are they responsible for executing each one of those steps. And in terms of output, what is the desired outcome of your activity, and who are the internal customers and the external customers. You see, many times from my experience, I've seen a disconnect with the procurement function and the end user. So the more you understand your end user's critical requirements, the better you would be at your job. This SIPOC chart, every time I use it, gives me a rude awakening, because you may see where some of the inputs are flawed or they're not robust, right? So you ever heard the saying, if you mess in, or you have mess coming into a process, you get mess out, correct?
Yes.
Right. So you see SIPOC stands for IPO in the middle, right? Inputs, power inputs require, even if you execute the process steps efficiently, if the inputs are incorrect, you're going to get a poor output, right? And you already know what our outcome is, right? You already know what our outcome is. We know what the mandate is. We want to make sure we support operations, right? We want to make sure we protect the organization from risk, and we want to make sure we control spend. So if the better you understand and analyze and improve those inputs and improve the process and improve the suppliers and help them improve, right, you'll get a better outcome. So great suppliers who deliver high quality inputs that are processed on time with minimal rework will lead to a better product that's produced, and will yield to greater customer satisfaction. Does that make sense?
Plenty.
So please, and I'm gonna the entire series, right? All 4 of them, I'm gonna go deep into each process step, and you're gonna analyze. I want you to analyze again your critical inputs, and you would see where, again, if you improve those inputs to the process, you get a better outcome. You'll get better cost savings. You get better cost reduction. You'll get better cost avoidance. You would get better products. delivered into your process, and you'll get a greater customer experience, and this would lead to increased sales, increased profitability, and enhance brand value and recognition. So this is the part of this webinar. As I said, I hope it was something that this site block, I hope you enjoy it. But
Yes,
this
I
was
did.
supposed to be a critical caveat. And every time I do a webinar, I'm going to come up with some tool that some of us have that you rarely see, and I would explain it. If you need any support at next level purchasing association, as you know, our goal and objective is to make procurement professionals be world class, to be the best. So
Sounds
if you
good.
need any clarification on this, Deborah,
Mm-hmm.
you could email me, send me a note, and I'll be more than happy to give you further clarification.
Okay, so I
But
don't have your email. I don't have your
uh,
email. Do you have my email?
the
Can you send me this information by email that you just give me?
absolutely. If you
Right.
give me a day or two, I'll send you the site for template, and
Right, please.
you could go as far as doing time studies on the process steps.
I would love that. And
Uh
if you
huh.
can give me the whole presentation here too.
Sure, sure. You could do time studies on each one of those process steps, and I recommend you do that, right?
No
And then you could
problem. I just
see.
need the information.
I'm sorry.
I just need the information. That's all I need.
Okay, okay, no
Mhm.
problem. Now, do you have any questions? I'd like to do some Q&A. Do you
I
have
would
any
love
questions?
to, but I too have to leave.
I'm sorry. You have to leave.
Yeah, so what I'll do is organize them and send them via email. Is that
Okay.
okay?
Absolutely. Now, did I do a good job for you on this
Excellent,
webinar?
excellent,
Okay, so you had a
excellent.
good
Yeah,
experience. Well, this is what we
yeah.
want.
This
We
is the
want an
best.
awesome experience.
This is the best so far.
I appreciate it. And we at Next
Mhm,
Level Purchasing Association, we appreciate it. We're
mhm.
here for you, and I have a personal passion to see others succeed. And you
Awesome.
do have a great day.
You too. Thanks again.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.